Welcome to episode 37. My name is David Reed. Thanks so much for joining Dial the Gate. And welcome to 2021. Hope you had a great new year. Hope everyone is safe and sound in your household and family. I have a great guest to start the year. This is someone who you may have seen, or definitely have seen if you've watched SG-1 and Atlantis, but may not necessarily be aware that you saw him. So we're going to bring in Dan Payne in just a moment here. So what's going to happen with this episode is we're going to talk with Dan, and we're going to remind you of the roles that he played, and feel free to ask him questions in the YouTube chat, and then my moderating team will turn those questions over to me, and we will ask them of Dan. I also have some Super Soldier concept art to share with you after the show, and we will also be announcing the giveaway for the month of January for those who choose to submit trivia questions. So we've got a pretty great show ahead for you, and I appreciate you tuning in. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Dan Payne. Hello, my friend.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm all right. Made it to 2021. How are you?
We did same thing, man. Pretty happy to be, 2020 behind us.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure, as I'm sure many people are.
Where are you?
I'm in Vancouver.
You are.
I'm back home. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
How's the weather been? Everything been okay up there?
I've started building an ark.
Okay.
The
Very
gills,
good. 2x2.
The gills. I don't know if are my gills showing? I don't know. It's raining a lot, man. It is bucketing down, like bucketing.
Send some of that to Phoenix, please.
Yeah, no doubt. We
Really
should
had rain
share.
since last March.
Oh,
So,
happy to share.
yeah,
I think
it was
on
well over 50 C this summer. So
oof, yeah. On behalf of all
121 Fahrenheit.
Vancouverites,
Yeah,
please.
exactly. The Kull Warrior, the Anubis Ashrak in Allegiance, Nirti's Jaffa Commander in Metamorphosis, Sergeant Allen in Fragile Balance, Wraith Warriors in Rising, maybe others, I'm not entirely sure, Jaffa in Sacrifices, Lieutenant Reed in Atlantis' Runner, and the Uber Wraith in Sateda. Man, I think you and Alex Zahara definitely are up there.
Utility players, hey?
Right, absolutely. Just keep on coming back for more punishment, Mr. Payne.
Yeah, we used to joke that we died for a living. It was great.
When you have a last name like that, you can't. I can't help but wonder, because I have a friend named Joy, and she is Joy. I can't help but wonder if that has some kind of influence into the person that you're going to become. I mean, seriously, what was your mindset of Payne when you were younger?
As I get older, it just becomes more and more true. But the last name being, growing up, I thought it was, I grew up with the pain in the butt, all the typical jokes and stuff, but I kind of liked it. And as soon as Max Payne, the video game came out, that kind of shifted things. But I'm proud of it. And I get asked a lot, is that your real name? So for me, that's kind of cool. If people ask me if that's my real name or something I chose, I'm hoping they ask me that because they think it's kind of cool. And I think everybody is proud, hopefully, of their family and their heritage, their lineage, their name. So I've always thought it was pretty rad.
Where is the name from?
Irish.
It's Irish. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Irish, Scottish in that area.
Well, and to grow up and become a stunt performer.
Yeah, I know. Ironic.
It's you have to wonder if there are
There's that or doctor, and I'm not smart enough. So.
Are you from Vancouver?
No. Actually, I was born in Victoria, but I moved 16 times before I was 17. I spent 1 year in Vancouver in North Van, near where I live now. And that's at 11 is when I fell in love with Vancouver. So we moved back when I had the choice, but I lived all over small town Canada, like Estevan, Saskatchewan, Hinton, Alberta, Grand Prairie, Winnipeg, like you name it. I moved 16 times before I was 17. And Calgary, the best part of Calgary, no offense, Calgarians, but the best part was leaving after university. It's cold, flat, and a bit brown in the summer, winter, all the way around. But amazing people. The thing about Calgary that I find that I do miss is that the people there were, when you try and move in and merge when you're driving, in Calgary, they're like, come on in. They wave you in. Whereas in Vancouver, they need that extra 0.07 seconds that closing that gap on you does. So
it's a lifestyle mindset.
I think so. And Calgary, I don't know, it's just chill, laid back. It was great. The people were phenomenal. Just need to move the city somewhere else.
How old were you when you realized you wanted to perform?
Sports were a huge part of my life. From, I think high school was when at grade 10, I got to be the captain of the basketball team. And I loved the responsibility. I loved being the young guy on the squad, but wearing the C and then figuring out what that meant, all the things that required responsibility, accountability, leadership, etc. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that group, not mentality, but that group sort of focus where you had to play a role in that group. And that carried on to sports. And then when the audiences came, because, at high school, it's like your buddies are watching you, making fun of you. But when you go to university, I played in a tournament called the Dino Cup. And I played for the University of Calgary. We brought the 2 best US teams and the 2 best Canadian teams together every year. TSN covered it. And is TSN still around? Anyway, I'm old. And we would have like 5,000 to 10,000 people come out. Or no, sorry, 2,000 to 5,000 people come out. And it was amazing. And I, if I'm being brutally honest and transparent, I love an audience. I love a crowd. I love the immediate response to doing things well. I love the pressure to perform and do well. And that just carried over. So when I left the university world, I went and played in Europe. And then when my body said, hey, you're done with that, I thought I'd do stunts and beat it up more.
Well, you know what? No, I'm not.
Here's an idea. I went and took on, I went to the UK and took a few, renegade weekend warrior type classes, got an agent, did the hard yards, went to Australia first with my brother, built the dream idea there, then went to UK, took it to the next level, had a few credits, came back to Canada and started a few rungs up the ladder than I would have if I'd started here. And all of it was based on that performance process, the need to perform and the excitement and desire. And then the automatic, when you're doing plays or sports response, was addictive, intoxicating. And it turned into and translated into film and TV, which is the medium that spoke most to me, I guess.
How so?
Doing a play is the true art form of the art. And I enjoyed that, but that's the challenge for me to get back to the basics. And at that time I had a wife, responsibility, and a mortgage. And the unfortunate truth about the theater is that it doesn't pay well enough at the level I was ever going to get to be honest, to help me keep that world alive. And I wanted to stay in it. I loved it that much that I wanted to be able to perpetuate opportunity in that world. And film and TV affords you that as well. I like the fact that, like in a play, it starts and you don't get to go, hey, can we just go back for a second? I'd like to try something different there. Nope. Because the audience goes, what? Right. And I love yeah, dude, no. So the film and TV thing, you do a take and then you get a discovery. You do that in rehearsals and plays as well, but film and TV is immediate. And maybe it's a bit of ADD, but I love that format, that structure of being able to create and continue to push to make something better through each take. And in a play, you'll have a good run and then maybe a not as good run. And you want to hope that I like that the audience will always get the best take from film and TV. Maybe that's a bit of I have so many teachers and other actors are amazing in saying, look, you always should do what you fear the most. And I need to do a play because I'm scared about it. Try not to swear there. How'd I do, Dave?
No, you're good. You're fine.
Yeah. So it scares the bejesus out of me. So I probably should go and do it again soon.
What play really stands out to you that you've done?
That I've done? A Whole Lot of Love was a Canadian playwright's in the UK. It was a 3-month run, I believe. It's been a long time. And it was his premiere of his Canadian play in the UK. And a big part of me getting that is my accent was pretty appropriate of all the actors that the director could choose from. And it was, why it was most memorable was it was a 2-hander, 2-hour play. and it was my first at bat. That's going deep end, both feet, or head first, I mean. So,
What was it about?
a guy and a girl break up, and while they're broken up, the guy realizes that he's won the lottery. Not because she broke up. He actually won the lottery. And he decides to test whether she would come back to him for who he is because of how much he wants to be with her, or whether it's the money. And so he kind of lays out this whole plan scheme to see if there's a whole lot of love there. Yeah.
Wow. Did you play the guy?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't do enough of that in high school, and in college, but I did some, and it's so immensely rewarding to delve into a character and take on. I see the allure of it for actors, where you're going outside of yourself, especially in the theatrical format, from beginning to end, and taking on another identity and exploring facets of your own personality, because some part of you has to carry that role, that in order for there to be any truth in it.
Absolutely. And I think theater allows you to delve deeper into it because of the amount of rehearsal time you have. Film and TV nowadays, when you book one, you'll book it 3 to 5 days before you go to camera. And then you have to beg your agent to get them the script sooner, and then you get rewrites. And it's always about, it's not survival at all, but sometimes it is. Movies of the week can turn into survival. But you're not afforded the same amount of processing the character, the story, the backstory, and the whole package as you are in theater. We had a month of rehearsals, and before rehearsals, we had 3 weeks of pounding the script into our skull. I got together with my fellow actor, and she and I just ran lines till they were automatic. And then after that, those were no longer a factor, and we can just delve into character and history and backstory and relationship and environment and all these wonderful aspects for a full month before we put on that 1 2-hour scene, so to speak. And I love that. I miss that part for sure. The time afforded to get into the truth, I think, is what you're talking about before. Yeah.
Who are your heroes, Dan? Who are your personal heroes, the people who have helped to shape you into the man that you've become, the father you've become, and who are some of the professional people that you've looked up to as well?
Personally, it's pretty easy and it's quick. It's my family. My mom and dad were unbelievable parents. I hope it's cool to say that I'm proud of the person I became because of how they helped me become that person. And then my brother and sister who were along for that journey with me. And we, obviously, the ups and downs, we rode those together and we processed them together. And we became, like, my brother and sister and my wife are my best friends if you're going to cut it down to the absolute core. And that's just the good fortune of meeting them, whether it be by birth or finding them, but spending that much time, like a lifetime with my brother and sister and 20 years with my wife. So those are my personal heroes. And then my grandfather on my mom's side, he had 13 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know how he did it, but he found a way to make all of his 40 grandkids and 13 kids feel special. He called me his little prince, and he would take me to the special, his back room, his office. And I remember he taught me hey, do you want to understand why when spokes get going fast enough, it looks like they're going backwards, and just really cool, neat things that I remember very distinctly because it was just he and I, despite the chaos outside with aunts, uncles, and kids everywhere. It's like, Dan, come here, my little prince. I want to show you something. And it was just made you feel like a prince on the way to being a king. It was just unbelievable. So that making me feel special amongst a crowded, chaotic world was pretty amazing. So that stuck with me for life, I think, to be able to find a way to be true to you despite the chaos around, especially with this last messed up year. I'm not saying I did it, but at least there was light at the end of that sometimes long and dark ass tunnel.
This is true. What about professionally?
Whew. In Vancouver, I'm afforded the beauty of working in a community that I think all of them are I don't know if heroes is the right word, but peers, mentors, counselors, affiliates, people I look up to, people I look to. This is an amazing community. And if you want me to go into the big picture, I love Johnny Depp and Robert Downey Jr. for their unabashed, unapologetic expression of self. I don't know how they do it, and I'd love to. And I always watch, listen, and read their articles and interviews to see what it is about them. And I don't, sometimes it's called arrogance, and I always fear 100% fear arrogance, and I fear overconfidence. I always want to walk that line of confident to move ahead, but not too far to knock people over on the way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So those two guys, and then recently, Kevin Costner. There's a quiet brilliance in Kevin Costner. He's done some films that are not awesome, but he's never been anything other than awesome. He doesn't have to do much, and whatever it is that he does do, is all-encompassing, draws you in, pulls you to the core, and it's intoxicating to watch because it's an enigma that I want to, as an actor, as an artist, want to try and figure out what that puzzle is.
When did you discover Stargate? Were you aware of the TV franchise before coming on?
The movie.
You went back to the movie.
The movie, man. The movie was so awesome. It was, Kurt Russell is a legend in my mind. In fact, I fell in love with him this Christmas watching Christmas Chronicles 2 with my kids, because he is just amazing. He's so rad. I'm gonna have to plug my computer in.
No, it's okay.
1 second.
Battery warning levels. This is live YouTube, people. On the fly. Sometimes things happen.
That'd have been funny. Hey, just go completely dark all of a sudden. And there goes Dan.
It's happened to us on the show. Live television, live YouTube, whatever. It's unpredictable. So
yeah, sorry, I'm back.
Kevin Costner is he's got this quiet, stoic, dark quality. Have you seen Yellowstone?
I'm halfway through season 3.
You're behind. You're ahead of me.
The guy can make you cry, but he hasn't done anything. Like, he doesn't.
I know.
And he's the big evil white man who took the natives' land and is unabashedly going to protect it at all costs and do horribly terrible things, and you root for him somehow. That's pretty phenomenal.
I think that.
I mean, I'm rooting for the natives to get their right.
Well, I think a show like Yellowstone shows that the thing that I come away with Yellowstone is that nothing is black and white.
I was going to say, yeah.
We all have layers, and we have a larger responsibility to each other. And I think the show does a good job of portraying those layers. So
it does address a lot of the aspects that are involved in all that world. It's a brilliant show. If you're not watching it, I would recommend it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to throw a shout out to a buddy of mine who's on there.
Oh, please.
Who's an exquisite actor. His name's John Emmett Tracy. He plays Ellis Stone. And I'm just like, I love it when he's a great guy. Like, he's one of the best humans. And I just love that he's on a phenomenal show and doing a phenomenal job. It's just cool. I mean, every time a friend of mine books something great and is doing it
absolutely.
So shout out to you, John.
So you did you see Stargate in the theater?
I did, yeah.
All right.
So that was also the cool part, right? Big screen, surround sound, and that sci-fi world they created from that movie. How could it not become the cult classic franchise that it is? It was phenomenal. And James Spader.
Oh man. Yeah. What he created, and then what Shanks was able to go on and just make a meal out of was just terrific. You were first in Allegiance, and we saw this much of you.
Yeah. Remember?
And it was, who would have thought, aside from like the Jaffa and a sergeant and a couple of others, that we would see less of you while still seeing you after that. What is it about the makeup process, about taking on a non-human character that you enjoy? You know, it's you've been through a lot of punishment, my friend, for our entertainment. So blood, sweat, tears.
Yeah, and a few bruises. There's no precedent set for a lot of these creatures, aliens, and there's no, like, humans understand the human environment, the human mind, human nature. And so there's an expectation that this is what sadness, happiness, joy, and all those things look like. But we haven't lived on an alien planet that I know of. So we don't actually have a preset notion of how they're meant to act or whatever. So there's a creative freedom in that. And I loved working with producers and directors and the show runners and stuff to bring to life some, like the Uber Wraith, and something like, he was just a big badass green biker alien. And in my mind, and I just love that I could take from the human world that I understood and try and shift it, alter it, manipulate it to fit the story of what we were telling from this alien world. And Kull Warrior, you know, former human, symbiote gone wrong.
All kinds of layers left with the Kull. Yeah.
Yeah, like all kinds of little subtleties. And I'm not saying that, like, the parameters of things that you could do are pretty narrow, but for a Kull, but if you wanted a robot, then make a robot. So it was kind of fun to have them go, hey, we're going to try the way he walks, how, you know, in his pursuit. Is it mechanical, or is there an element of vengeance? And, you know, it's just kind of little cool aspects, so that there's just subtleties, so it wasn't one dimensional. Fun.
The Jaffa were the main, you know, soldier and army in the first, you know, 6.5 seasons of the series. And then we get to Evolution 1, and this tall, menacing thing comes in. Tell us about creating that character. I want to get into the suit in a minute. Pardon the pun. But like the mindset, what you were kind of tapping into just a moment ago. Is it Terminator-like? You know, is he Borg-like? Is he, because he's always scanning? You know, what's going on for you when you're in that armor?
I don't want to disappoint people, but it was more RoboCop. You know how they took a policeman and then put machine on him, and there was elements of human left. And then, so for me, it was more RoboCop, and then maybe past RoboCop towards Terminator. But the RoboCop was more, for me, was the trying to find ways to incorporate as much, and not human, but non-mechanical, non-machine-like elements.
He's not a robot.
No, I know, but I just didn't want it to seem that mindless, like a robot where you program and it goes. I wanted it to be a choice to some extent, or at least choose how you go about the task you're given. So he maybe didn't like go kill, okay, but
everyone but Braytech.
Yeah, right. And I think it was kind of neat to feel at first. What's the word? I don't know. I'm going to go to a commercial break mentally. Sure. I'll be right back. You know, impenetrable, like all powerful, until all of a sudden you get hit with that weapon and go down. And that was, to me, I mean, you can't see it behind the mask, but that was kind of like a, huh? I am superhuman. Like, you shouldn't be able, I'm unstoppable. How did this happen? So I don't know, just little tiny elements, little tiny aspects of the story and the character that I wanted to make less mechanical.
Did you see the concept art before you got into it? Did you see what they were going to create first? Well, it's some of the coolest stuff that James Robbins.
Does this show you what I felt?
Tell us about creating that suit, and that you were basically like a doll for the makeup department to construct a form around. Tell us that story.
So they did a body cast, which is head to toe plaster casting, so that they could build a suit specifically to my dimensions and my body, so that it would move specifically for me and I wouldn't, you know, get bind up. So I could be agile enough to pursue and not be like ouch and get stuck in the gear. So they did a phenomenal job. The body cast situation is, if you're claustrophobic, I don't recommend it. But it's pretty amazing for them to build this onto a complete form of my human body, and then you get to see it come to life outside, and then they take it off the form and you get inside. So both perspectives, to be able to see it from the outside, go, oh yeah, that's because it was, fully loaded into a form of me. Like, that's ominous. Wait a minute, I get to be that. That's pretty cool. So then you climb in there, and the only parts you can't see much, that part's hard.
So they took a form of you. Did they do a head cast or just a body cast?
I think, out of the good fortune of being a part of the Todd Masters, I think Todd Masters made it. I've been fortunate to be creatures and stuff in the past. So he had head molds and head casts of me. I've done about 8 or 10.
Wow.
Over the course of the years. Yeah. And I've done about 3 or 4. I was a polar bear in the Snow Queen back in the day. And that was the first body cast I did in the UK. That one was pretty intense. And then I've done a couple more full body casts. And they already had a head cast. So they did another body cast for that one. So I don't think I had to do a head cast for that one. Okay. I think they used an old one and put it on there. But they made sure that it fit perfectly. Like, it was as uncomfortable as it looked. It was comfortable. Getting into it took about an hour and a half. Getting out took about half hour, 45.
That's not awful. Interesting.
No, it's not awful. Not like like Uber Wraith was a 5-hour makeup.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Piece by piece, layer by layer. No, I can imagine. And there was electronics with the Kull Warrior as well, because you have eyes that light up. Was that something that you wore on your back? How did that work?
They built those into the helmet. It was just a little switch hidden underneath the back part of the helmet, and flick on it would go, and away we go. And then any lights that were anywhere else were also just remote, like removable and remote, so you could put it in, turn it on, and then have it light up.
And the diet, have you always been on a pretty strict regimen when you're working, or just in general, or was that something that you had to be very conscious of? It's like, okay, pound for pound, I mean, I need to be careful here, because this thing was form fitted to me on this date at this at this body dimension.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pay homage to the sporting career I had, where I created a huge habit of staying in a certain level of shape, eating a certain way. And I think it got better. My wife's even more organic based and I eat cleaner now with her in the picture, for sure. But I've always had, I've stayed pretty static. I've very rarely gone up and down, quite fortunately, over the last 25 years. So I don't really have to put too much more attention to it when you're working a lot. And again, I also learned this from the True Blue stunt guys. And I want to throw this out every time, and I might get tired of hearing it, but I'm an actor who gets to do stunts. I'm not a True Blue stunt guy. I want to make sure that everyone understands that stunt guys are a phenomenally trained group of unbelievable artists in their own right that do their work and their art. And I'm an actor who loves that art, who gets to once in a while dabble due to the good heart and maybe history of sports that I've got and willingness to learn to go and dabble in that world. But I learned from stunt guys that you have to stay in shape, period, if you want to be able to do stunts. There's no taking time off, because if your body is your weapon, your instrument, and you let it go, you're hooked. So yeah, so I just kind of sort of stay in the fight, to stay in shape.
How was it dealing with the Vancouver sun in that suit? I imagine the Jaffa armor, because I've worn it for some photo shoots when we were selling the stuff over at PropWorks. But I mean, to be completely encased in something totally black in that Vancouver summer humidity and heat, what was that like?
It was a learning curve. The first time we introduced the Kull Warrior, I think, again, we're going back, but I remember running over a mountain, not a mountain, like a hill. I came into sight and I came running down this slope, and it was crazy. I don't know what the Fahrenheit, but it was like 33 or 4 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, in the 90s. So it's hot. And I'm wearing 5mm neoprene with armor on top of it, head cased, closed off. There's nowhere to breathe, gloves on, boots. I was sweating profusely. And again, I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'm hot. I need it. Can I
Right.
get a cold water? So I don't say much. But it was like I said, learning curve. If I had said anything, they would have jumped on and helped me out.
Yeah,
When
of
they did
course.
need to, they were phenomenal. But I came running over that hill a couple of takes, and I got to the bottom, and I started my hands from like the elbows down, and my knees or my feet from the knees down started feeling like pins and needles tingling. And I started getting a little bit dizzy and stuff. And I said, "Hey," I think it was the stunt court. It might have been Bam Bam. I'm like, "Hey, I feel really tingly, and I'm a little bit dizzy." And he's like, "Oh crap." So they sat me down and like, okay, I sat down. And I'm like, okay, I think, no, I'm okay. And I pushed them away because I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. And I get up and I did another take and I started speaking gibberish. I overheated.
Whoa.
Yeah, I overheated. And, I thought I saw elephants in pink tutus. I think I spoke to God for a minute. It was like, I was out there, I was losing it. And they're like, uh-oh. And next thing I know, like I not blacked out, but I just kind of checked out for a minute. I'm like, I'm going to just go away mentally. And when I kind of came back mentally, my hands were in ice buckets. I was sitting on a chair. My hands were in ice buckets. They didn't even take the boots off. They whacked those in ice buckets and put ice on the back of my neck. And I came back in a hurry. And then that was the learning curve was, hey, Dan, don't be an idiot. If you need something or feel something,
So
tell
you
us.
had a time lapse.
A little bit, yeah. Folded a little bit of time together where I was like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, wait, my hands are in ice. How'd that happen? So they were amazing. And then I went at it and kept going. But they wouldn't let me go until I was more openly communicating that things were tough and it was hot. Because they can't read my mind. Yeah, they just, I don't want to put it on them. They couldn't read my mind. I was trying to be the tough guy team player, which is dumb. They never asked me to do that, but I just always felt this obligation from sports. And
that's exactly right. I've had the privilege of talking to you a few different times now, and it's what's been pretty clear to me of what you say is that it's a sports background. It's a toughness kind of thing as well. But at the same time, you're trying to play your part for your team because it's just another kind of a team. But at the same time, if you're never communicating when you do have an issue, then you're going to get into situations like this where you genuinely overheat and then everything stops.
Yeah. So that's just me learning to be a better teammate.
Yeah.
There's different ways to be a teammate. Yeah, you can be the guy who just pushes through and gets it done and doesn't let his team down by ever being the guy who was the weak link because you couldn't finish the job or whatever. As I got older, and I think it's a little bit of wisdom, I learned that being a good teammate is also a great bunch of communication. Mm-hmm. Because it's not like they needed that shot in that second. I could take 10 minutes, ice my hands and neck and cool off to the point of safety. And they're still going to get the shot, but I'm like, I don't want to be the squeaky wheel. I don't want to be the whiner. And that was my first time there. And they said, hey, this Kull Warrior might be around for a couple episodes. I didn't want him to go, oh, why'd we hire this wuss,
Right.
So there was like, and I put that on myself. That's not them at all. But that's again, going back to sports where like, I remember I broke these two fingers blocking a ball, snapped this one out sideways. Like it broke and went out that way. And I went over to the therapist quietly and I'm like, hey, I think this is bad. And he's like, oh, that's bad. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, just put it back. I got to go back in. So he's like, okay, on 3. And then he went 1, 2 and put it back straight. And then we taped these two together and then put a webbing of tape to this one. So they were kind of held with some structural so I could set and block. Yeah. And I went back in and hurt like balls. But when you have endorphins going and that mentality just sticks because you don't want to be, okay, if I'm the starter and then I hurt my finger and oh, boo-hoo, your finger hurts. And then they send in the backup, and no offense to the backup, but you're a backup only if the starter can't go. You don't want to be the guy who can't go unless you cannot go. So I don't know. And stunt guys blow my mind because I thought that was tough. And I've seen stunt guys do things that are just not human, particularly Glenn Ennis, who I don't understand. That guy, he's a wrecking ball. But all of them, like I want to shout out all stunt guys. I've been, like I said, I've had the good fortune to play and dabble in that world. And I've seen them do mind-blowing things and get hit so hard that I'm thinking, okay, that's like 9-1. No, okay. I was going to hit the other one there because
yeah, we all have different levels of pain.
Tolerance.
And that, I think that is a huge part of it. But the other part of it is you can learn like Buddhist monks do in, high mountains. You can learn to turn parts of your brain off, and unlock parts of capabilities of your body that your body can withstand that you didn't know it could if given the chance.
100%. If you don't go past that limit, you don't know if you can. So I had I had the honor of working on the stunt team for Warcraft for like 5 months. And I got hammered. Everybody got hammered. There was so many stunts and so many days of rehearsals and bashing. There was a guy tore a bicep. One guy tore his Achilles. The broken this, concussion that. We got battered. And I learned through being a part of that team and seeing the vets who had been through it and the new guys who were, like I might have been at my first day, just willing to go through it. You learn what it takes and how to do it the best you can so that you can keep going. It was amazing. That was a lifelong experience, or a long life lasting, whatever. It was cool. It was a long affair of learning, and I enjoyed every second of it.
Alex Zahara came in near the end of, he says he's the one who did the motion capture for, the Jaffa army, the Kull Warrior army in Evolution Part 2. But he also had, I think, a suit made for him as well. Did he ask you for any pointers on this, or did he just come up with his own approach in creating the Kull Warrior?
Well, I think by then that we had kind of put it in place with the producers and directors what we had wanted, and I think they might have passed it on to Alex. And Alex and I talked since then, and we realized that they had filmed both of us so they could have a slightly different cadence and physicality to them. So because I had to do, I don't know how many runs and walks and marches for them on a green screen as well. And they were so that I think they implemented, like row. So it was Alex, Dan. And we both got to be, so.
Oh, you both did that. Okay.
Yeah. So we both joked that we've been like 10,000 characters on the show. But yeah, it's really cool. And Alex is awesome. What a talented voice and actor, guys, and just a great human. So yeah, we both got to be, and I don't know if they altered the arm, like they didn't build a suit for him. I know that much.
Oh, they did not. Okay.
No, they might have put my armor on him the same way that they put, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, I think they might have done a wetsuit for him.
Okay. That possibly. Neoprene underneath.
The neoprene under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, the armor they did not foil that.
I did not expect that character, that species, whatever you want to call them, to last as long as they did. I thought that they were going to be a one-off, and that was going to be it. And it was so cool to have that performance evolve over, even though they were relatively static characters. There wasn't a lot that you could really do with them other than shoot and kill. But
relentless pursuit.
Yeah, they did relentless pursuit. Exactly. It was so cool to see that those characters develop and be reused again and again over the course of the 2 seasons. They really got a lot of mileage out of them.
I'm grateful. I mean, every day on set's a great day. That's kind of a motto for me, and that meant more days on set. So
exactly. And then Atlantis, cool. You got to come back again with Phantoms. We were at a convention, and you were like, "You may see it again."
Yeah, totally.
What was it like being dressed up as that Uber Wraith? You said it took the god awful number of hours. The biker Wraith.
Yeah, the badass biker Wraith. That was cool. So Kull Warrior, there's like this unstoppable power feeling, but it wasn't as character based in terms of personality. Whereas I truly wanted to put the Uber Wraith as as a biker gang leader. Like that's what I talked to the producers and the director about. Like I want him to be this, I don't give a, what, I'm coming, and you shouldn't have pissed me off type of guy. And so that's like the badass biker. Like you come out of the bar and he sees that you are sitting on his bike. or
what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. You like that bike, son? Yeah. Badass. Just felt badass. I don't know how else to describe it.
What was
tattoos.
How long was the makeup for the Uber Wraith? How long would that take? What time would you have to show up in the morning? What was the
Let's
process for that?
Yeah, it's like about a 4 to 5 hours. So if it was like an 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., I'd be in there at 3 or 4 in the morning. And the makeup artist would come in and start putting the prosthetics down. So we'd have to do a skull cap, put that down, get the hair out of the way. And then they'd start applying the appliances, the pieces. And I'm pretty sure it was a cowl, which is like the overall head, shoulder, chest piece. And then we had forehead, nose, a chin piece, and then an upper lip piece, I believe. And then they have to blend all those together. Then they paint them. Then the hair was on already, I think, with a little bit of hair that was already punched in. And then they had to draw the tattoos on. And then the teeth, and then the contacts. Yeah.
Oh man, my gosh.
Yeah. And then the outfit was heavy too. Like that was a lot of layers, and leather, and big boots.
What was it like going through that stunt, the fight process with Bam
beating up Aquaman
and with Jason Momoa? Yeah, Aquaman. Yeah.
Momoa is so amazing. What a rad guy. And I want to throw a shout out. Like he's in the stars now. Like he's an absolute star. And he's still at every step of the way on his journey up. He was never a guy to not remember or be cool with all the people that like I've met some people on the way up and it's not the same. And I remember seeing him when he had done Conan, he'd done a few things. And there's no need. We've worked together and we've done the choreography of fights and I've, sat in his trailer, he's chatted, but no, there's no need for him for any reason to be anything more than a, hey, what's going on? And he came around the corner, he goes, Payne, and comes over and gives me a big hug like that. I can't tell you how cool that is to explain what an amazing guy he is. Like he does what he does for the love of doing it, not for the fame, fortune, money, whatever that comes with it. He's just that guy. And it's rad to be able to say, I know him. I haven't seen him in a long, long time, but I guarantee you, I feel that if I saw him, I almost was going to run into him at the rugby sevens. Mm. And I know for a fact, he'd be like, Bud, what's like, there would have been any like,
no hesitation.
I don't think there would have been. I don't want to speak for him, but he's such a true blue, like naturally great human that I don't think there would have been a hesitation. Like, Payne, what's up? Yeah. What a good guy. Anyway, working with him.
Yeah. The fight, that whole fight sequence.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure it looked badass. So he let me rehearse with him over and over and over. And then Glenn Ennis, who plays his double, we did the rehearsals as well over and over and over. And Glenn's great too. Glenn's such an accommodating stunt performer and actor in his own right. And it was a lot of, and then Bam Bam was there, a lot of choreography, repeat.
What was Bam Bam's process? I mean, would he I knew Bam Bam in particular used a lot of videotape and would actually pre-film the fights a lot using his own little handheld camcorder to show the producers, okay, this is exactly what it is that I'm looking for, so they could cut down the number of shots. How long would a fight like that take to rehearse? How early would you start before cameras were rolling on principal photography? Tell us, go through a kind of layout for something like that.
I wish I could tell you more. I could tell you what I've experienced in the past, but for me with Bam Bam, he was the previs that you're talking about. He did that with his stunt guys, and I didn't get to be there. I think because I was also doing performance stuff, so he couldn't get me away from set to do that. So he did all that, send it to them. Once it was locked down, then he got to bring it to me, and I love that he had the confidence in me to pick it up and perform it well enough on the day without having too much rehearsal. And again, like I said, Momoa and Glenn were phenomenal in letting me go over and over the moves until it was natural and felt cool. But normally, it's really neat to see it. I can only speak on Warcraft mostly, or actually also Underworld Awakenings. We got to do it too. We would go in there and just walk it through and be like, okay, this move, how about, and the stunt coordinators already have an idea. The fight coordinators, they already have an idea of what they want. And then they start seeing it with bodies and they go, okay, if you swept a foot there, can you kip up to this? And it's neat to watch them put that puzzle together. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's an assembly line just like anything else. There's a certain number of pieces to it, and it has to go together in a certain way.
But the creative aspect of them going, okay, what if you did a this and then that? Can you physically, would that get you to this point so that we could have him come flying in from this side? And you're like, what if I did this? And they collaborate in a beautiful way, because stunt coordinators hire the certain people they do because they know that person will bring their special martial art or their skill set to this, so that when they go, hey, I need a move that can, you're like, what about this? And like, yes, okay, put that together. And the stunt coordinator is always controlling it. And then, yeah, they put it on a previs, pad up, and then everybody goes banging away, and they go full on and they send it. And the director goes, okay, cool, but I want this angle, shoot it again so I can see what it looks like from here. They do that. And then when it's set and they lock it down, like you said, the director now knows how many shots are there, or if they let the second director, like Bam Bam's a wonderful director. And they go, hey, Bam Bam, back in the day, like, that looks dope. You're shooting it. So these are the shots I'd like. Hit it. And Bam Bam would go crush it.
How comfortable were you in, would you feel in providing input?
I was pretty quiet.
Okay.
Again, knowing my place as an actor coming into the stunt world and understanding how to respect and honor that opportunity, I would wait, and then would say, can you do that? And then I would say, yes, I can.
Got it.
So I leave. So because that's a whole other level. And that's why I say I'm not a stuntman as much as I am an actor who gets to do stunts, because those stuntmen, they've been doing it where they can help with the choreography. I will just be the guy who will work his ass off to get it right. And I'll tell you whether I can or can't physically do whatever it is. Like, I can't do a kip up. It's more of a crap out than a kip up.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to know the limits of your own physicality. And as you get older, there are certain things that you're not going to be able to do as flexibility anymore, that if you choose to do, there's going to be consequences for you afterwards that may impact the shoot.
Exactly. Well, it goes to acting too. Like, I've had can you ride a motorbike? Can you ride a horse? Don't lie. Because when you show up on set, you're going to damn yourself to being the guy who lied and then ended up screwing up production. And then they had to rewrite a scene because you couldn't be on your horse because you didn't know how to ride a friggin' horse. And you said you could. That's the same idea. Like, I didn't want to show up being like, yeah, man, let's, no. I'll be like, yes, sir, no, sir. How many bags full?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I can or I can't.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's being a team player, right? Let's go back to the team player. When I played pro volleyball, I didn't pass a single ball on the serves unless I got pulled in on a major spike server who was crushing it. I was kept out because I can't pass to save my life. Can I hit a ball? I could smack the shiitake out of a ball. But, you want me to bump that to the setter? Do we have a year? No, we don't. We have that 1 second. So I'm not a part of that second. But put it in the air, I'm going to smash the crap out of it.
Absolutely.
So just know your team.
That's right. Know your team. Know what you can provide, and know who you can turn to, who may have that talent and can.
That's what great directors and stunt coordinators do. They delegate to those that they know can, and then it creates a better product.
That's exactly right. What an experience you've had. What an opportunity to play so many cool characters over the course of that franchise. And, we've had the privilege of meeting several times at conventions. You've been, I'll never forget when you were at that first Gatecon after the Kull had just been introduced, and you showed up in your super soldier outfit to take pictures with fans all day long in that suit. I mean, I'll never forget that. You have always been one of the first ones to say, I recognize that it's important to give back to this community because this community is the reason that we're on the air.
You're funny.
After all these years.
It's like you're a mind reader, because I was about to say, do you mind if I throw a shout out? Because just to the whole entire fan base, the fact that I get to be involved in it and get to go to conventions and got to wear that suit in that day and give back and stuff, that's amazing to me. That is a mind-blowing aspect of so I get the front end of love doing what I do. And then if you get an email or two or an Instagram shout out saying, hey man, that was really cool, good job, that's pretty cool. But to have the opportunity to meet the fan base and have them be so loving, so supportive, so caring, it doesn't happen across all the genres. Like Stargate fans, and I want to say a massive shout out and love to all of you. The fact that I get to feel that love and that support, and not just for Stargate, we might have been introduced over Stargate, but now I know specifically Stargate fans who write saying, dude, I saw you in that Hallmark movie and you did a great job. And I hope that's amazing to me. That's a relationship that's, yeah, you can call it fan, but maybe we should create a word called friend, like where it's a friend and a fan at the same time, right?
Yeah.
There's a friendship
it's a culture
level
of, its own.
of the fan. It is. And I'm grateful to be involved in it. I'm so grateful that, like that first time I wore that suit, instead of just like a fan base that just wanted to see the suit wouldn't have given a crap who was in it in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But that, like you said, that fan base, the biggest thing they acknowledged was my willingness to be there in that suit. Like I was like, what? Of course I will. I get to be on the show. You guys love the show. I'm honored to be here. And the mindset of them going, no, we're grateful that you sweat your nuts off in that thing for us to be able to meet you. And that, well, what else can you say? So thank you to everybody for making this a 10, 20 year, how long has it been? Like it's still going.
So the Kull Warrior, that would have been 2003 that started airing. So just
so the longevity of that fan base
it's evergreen. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It really is. It really is. So I just want to throw a shout out to that amazing, every one of them.
Absolutely. I have fans in the chat who have questions for you. Cool. Sally Whitesides.
Hey, Sally.
Since you have played, since you've played these characters, what's the favorite for you that has stuck out to you in terms of the Stargate roles that you've played? What do you look back on the most fondly?
For sure. I just want to throw, hey, Sally, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but sending love, condolences, and all that to you and your family, and hope everything's, coming the right way around. So love and hugs to you. And then on top of that, to answer her question, she has a beautiful soul. She's a wonderful person.
Oh,
I want to, I'm going to have to say the Uber Wraith, just for the fact that it was like Kull Warrior 2.0 in that he had a personality and a badass nature to him. It ain't easy being green. I heard that somewhere. So, so I'm gonna go with the Uber Wraith for the badass nature of and be able to,
do you
battle
think
Momoa?
Oh, with Momoa, absolutely. So the Kull Warrior helped prepare you for that character in one way or another?
I think so. There's a stoic nature of I'm going to crush you, and I will be relentless in my pursuit of crushing you. It just had more badass attitude in the Uber Wraith.
Absolutely. Akos Thomas Navaki, did you suffer any injuries during the shoot on Stargate? I mean, you mentioned your football injury.
Volleyball, yeah.
Volleyball. It was a volleyball injury. Excuse me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's tons of bumps and bruises. I'll tell it because there's so many. I'll tell you the most embarrassing one. I was walking through the base as the Kull Warrior and didn't realize how tall I was. And I was doing a rehearsal without my helmet on and corked the top of my head on a pipe because that's how smart I can be. So yeah, I got a nice walloping bruise, like a goose egg on the top of my head, which I then had to put the helmet on.
And it's probably growing into a bump at that point.
Oh yeah. Why won't your helmet go on? Oh, because there's no. Yeah, so I bonked my coconut like an idiot on set. But no, there's whenever you go to ground, there's going to be something that's every once in a while the chest piece, when I'd fall, it would pinch a piece of flesh in it and then put one of those big line of raspberries in there. Lots of Charlie horses, just bumps and bruises for sure. Getting buried alive when I was chasing Amanda tapping Samantha.
That's right. In
Getting
Death
buried
Knell.
alive. Yeah, that was.
How did they do that?
They dug a hole. This is a bit of a long story. I don't know if we want to. Yeah. Okay.
I've got time. Are you okay on time?
I'm fine for time. I just don't want to bore the snot out of anybody.
Tell it, sister.
All right. So they dug a hole and then they put this vermiculite stuff, which is like fake dirt. And I laid face down in, and they buried my body first, left my head out to last. And all I had was one of those painter, like the masks we now have to wear, the hospital mask. And they put that on in order to try and minimize dust intake. But I had no breathing tube. And Peter DeLuise was directing, who is a genius, also brilliantly funny, and very caring. And I'll tell you why he was very caring. So they get all set up, and they know that it's going to be a time constrained effort because they have to bury my head, set Amanda, make sure the cameras are ready, roll the cameras, clear the set, and then start shooting. And then 3, 2, 1, I emerge. So they bury my head and they get all this stuff going. And then I can't really hear anything because the dirt's now over top of me. It's gotten quiet. All I can hear is foot kind of poundings and muffled voices. And then the voices, they start getting more frantic. And then I hear what I'm pretty sure is Peter DeLuise's voice yelling. Somebody had left a bucket of the vermiculite in the shot, and everyone had cleared shot. So I'm under the thing holding my breath, and somebody had left a bucket by accident in the shot. So they've all, and they run back in. And I'm under there kind of holding my breath because I can't take a breath. I'm underground. And if I do take a breath, it's going to be dirt through this mask. So I'm holding my breath as long as I can. And I'm starting to feel that. Have you ever been underwater and you're swimming up and you start to go, okay, I can't take a breath, but your chest starts going.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting a physical response.
And so this goes back to that idiotic thing of just be the team player. Like, hold your damn breath. I don't want to make them reset. I don't want this to have to be the guy that I'm sorry, I couldn't breathe. Oh my God, really, guy? So I'm under there doing try not to make the dirt move because it has to be this stoic moment where Amanda thinks I'm dead. And they want to give her that moment off the top of camera. So I'm under the fighting those convulsions. And Peter's yelling and stuff. And then I hear the grab the bucket, foot fist. And I'm like, and then I know that I'm supposed to count to 5, like 5 beats before I come out of the ground on action. And Peter DeLuise's voice out there. And I hear, right? And that's the muffled version underground of action. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm choking away. And then I can't come up going, right? I can't, that's the Kull Warrior, not going to give a crap about breath. So I have to come up stoic. So I stand up and I remember the shot. It looks so cool. Like I felt when I saw it afterwards, super badass. But so I come up and all this dirt starts pouring out of the helmet and pouring off of me. And I have to slowly rise with this stoic power. And I come up and I, kind of a little bit of a shimmy, and inside I'm like, just get air in your lungs. And then I have to turn slowly and I can't see anything. There is dirt packed up everywhere, like in my ears, my eyes, I can't see anything. So I'm blind and I'm trying to fight air and like trying to, like without convulsing or sucking wind like a goober. And I raise my arm slowly towards Amanda. And then I have to take 2 shots in the back from Tilk. Christopher Judge shoots me in the back just before I shoot her. And then I have to blind turn around and aim at him, which I can't see squat. So I'm kind of like, and there, right? And I turn and then I do the little movements for the firing. And then I hear the, oh God. And I'm like, fighting to get the helmet off, and I'm trying to suck in for air. Oh my God. And everyone starts clapping. And I'm like, oh my God, what is everyone clapping for? In the script, he says, you were under there for just over 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And again, it's not a 2 minutes of hard holding your breath because you can slow breathe. Like
right.
Underwater, you cannot. But you run out of air because you take a breath and then you slow breathe it out.
Correct.
And so 2 minutes is still a pretty long time. And I'm like, and I started getting emotional because everyone's coming over, patting me on the back and giving me the high fives and giving me the shoulder shake. And they're like, because this speaks to the family of Stargate. Like what a group of unbelievably supportive. This is crew. Why would they give a crap, right? Did we get the shot moving on? No. Coming over, high five. And, I've had somebody come over and say, dude, that's also a bit about you. Like you're a pretty good guy to everybody. And which I think is essential. Like say hi to everybody. The guy changing garbage is doing a part of the thing that makes the show happen too. So if you treat him any lower or lesser, then you're a douche, and you don't also get it. And plus, hopefully that guy rises and he's there to learn and becomes a super director. And you want to have supported him all the way up.
Correct.
There. So
absolutely. What goes around comes around.
For sure. So they said, that's a bit about you too, but it didn't matter. I couldn't help but get emotional because I was like, this is amazing. Like, I really felt like I worked hard to do something and be a part of the team. And the team came and said, yes, you did, with all the high fives and stuff.
So one take.
One take.
Wow. Go ahead.
One take. Yeah. And then Peter DeLuise, when you do something good, comes around and gives you scratch and wins. That's a little thing you do. Like if you did something rad, he'd come over and go, "Nice work," and he'd give you a scratch and win. So
There, sure. Let me just put this in my Kull Warrior pocket.
Well, that's yeah. So he comes over and he goes, "I don't have any scratch and wins worth this, so here's $20. Go buy 20. Go buy 20 scratch and wins." So it's like just that's a great story for me to tell because it speaks to how much you want to work for a show that supports and loves you back, and how much that show loves you in terms of crew, cast, and care for the people in it. And just a lot of fun. And then at the end of the day, the shot to me was super badass looking. All that dirt falling out as I stood up. It was worth it.
It was. Absolutely.
Long story. I'm sorry. I hope that was worth it.
I hope you're willing to tell one more longer one.
Okay.
The drone shot and your first reactions to them prepping the shot before that you're going to take the drone to the chest as the Uber Wraith.
Oh, yeah.
I love this story. Before we go back to the fan questions.
So as the Uber Wraith, I'm standing over Momoa. This is what you're talking about when I'm about to throw the final blow, and I'm too much hubris, too much gloating, standing there, and then Puddle Jumper Rocket shows up and hits me. So this is the first time I've ever been on a wire, and Bam Bam again, kudos for giving me having the confidence into me, put me on a wire for the first time ever. And it was a heel dragger, meaning when they hit the button, the wire is going to drag me heel high with this, imagine a rocket in my chest. And before all that happened, I didn't really know. I go around and I see them doing a test for this with a bag of weight matching my weight. So they put 240 pounds in this dummy bag, and then they're pressing it to see how it reacts, the ratchet. Well, I come around and watching. The first time they hit it, it goes boom and smashes into this bridge over top and goes straight down. I'm like, what? And Bam Bam, like, "Oh yeah, that'll be you, but we won't be doing that."
That was me.
Yeah, because he's, Bam Bam's got a sense of me. He's like, "Yeah, that's you, the bag, the dummy. Not you're a dummy, but a little bit." Anyway, he's like, "We're gonna wait. We're just testing it in. We're dialing it in, and then once we get the weight right, we'll put you on this wire." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I went over to Glenn. "What's a wire? How do we do this? What am I supposed to do?" So on the day they get me hooked in, I'm rigged up to this wire, wearing basically a corset, like the harness that you have to wear, which is cinched up in every possible part of your body that you can imagine. And yes, there too. And locked down pretty tight. And man, my nerves. So I'm standing over, I'm pretty sure, it was Glenn Ennis. Glenn was down, and I was talking to him like, "What do I do?" And he's like, "Just breathe. And as soon as you hear the 3, 2, 1, hold your breath, breathe out."
So Glenn is Ronan stunt double at this point?
Yeah. And
so you're over on top of him.
I'm over top of him. So I'm ready I'm going to smack you thing. And then the direction is when they say 3, 2, 1, look up, make the motion to see that you've caught the rocket, and give room for the CGI to put that in there. And then you're going on the ride. I was like, okay. And it was a 30-foot ride into some barrels, and then reset 30 foot more into a wall with a pad on it. And it was his first ride ever. So anyway, I'm like, "Glenn, what do I do?" And he's like, "Just, first of all, stop being a wuss. And then second of all, he's just breathe out, because when you hit those barrels, you don't want to have too much air in your lungs because it'll wind you, and just, isometric, like tense up and just go for the ride. Just you're basically, they call you dope on a rope." So 3, 2, 1, look up. And I'm so glad that they couldn't see close to my face, because they would have seen dinner plate eyes and pure fear, because it was the first ever, and I'm supposed to be like badass. And I was standing over like this, like, then 3, 2, 1, and off I went on this thing. I hit the barrels. I thought my kidneys went shooting on my back, because they had to have some water in them, so they looked like they weren't this token barrels put there for effect. And but that's normal. And so I hit the barrels, and it all went off the way it was supposed to. And I stood up, and then they rewired me and put me into the wall, and then CGI'd an explosion in there, and it looked amazing at the end of the day. But what an experience, like a trial by fire.
Any bruises from that?
Oh yeah. So my lower back was pretty, on both my hips, hip pointer, like where my hip bones were, there's bruises there. And that's about it. I mean, otherwise just like a body ache from the impact. But I'm so grateful to, and it was minor, like there's, like I said, stunt guys go through so much more. But I'm so grateful to Bam Bam for giving me the okay to be the dope on the rope.
When would those be placed near the end of a shoot, or did it just where it fell on the schedule is where it fell? Was there a strategic decision in terms of that, just in case something would go wrong and you would be more hurt than they expected?
I'm not too sure about the follow-up, but all those stunts were built on that day. So that entire fight scene was a day.
Okay.
Like hitting Glenn up, unraveled into the wall, and then
Right.
down he rolls in front of me, and then firing off the telephone pole. All of that cool butt kicking was all on the same day. And that was Glenn Ennis getting absolutely ragdolled, which again is human train wreck. I don't know how he still can walk, let alone, function. And then, yeah, my stuff too was on the same day. I don't know what the backup plan would have been because I was the only one in the makeup. And I don't know if there's too much there's always a potential stunts for a reason, but I think, they do so much work to minimize any kind of unexpected action that, Glenn's the stunt double on the day. I guess they could put somebody else on him or in him. And I guess if mine went sideways, which it never, it's always been good, they would just had to reschedule it.
Got it.
Yeah. As far as I know, that's just my.
Well, that makes sense. Well,
yes.
That was Cooper had only directed, I think, one at that point. I think that Sateda was his second. What was he like as a director?
I think he kind of seemed like a kid in a candy shop. I think he was having a lot of fun. All right, here we go. But very cool. He commanded the set. He already has the respect for who he is and what he brings to the show and all that. So I think respect is a huge thing. He had that. Then he commanded the set because he knew what he was doing, and he had great people around him, as that whole entire family did at all times. So he was, but I think I saw a pretty big spark of joy in his eyes every time I got to see him.
I would suspect so. Dan Zimmerly, would you rather play an individual character for many years or play many different characters if given the choice?
Thanks, Dan. That's a really cool question. Starting out, when I began my career, I'd want to play many different characters to experience different elements of range and demands and what I could or couldn't do and what I could bring to different characters. The position I'm in now, which is why I love that question, I would absolutely love to be on a series for 5 years playing the same character. And like we talked about plays in the beginning, delve into that whole character's world and bring that entire history and backstory to life through that character over the course of a series. That's a really cool question. So yeah, early on, multiple characters to learn. And now, not that I'm done learning, but the big learn I would love is to take a character through a huge arc.
Explore facets.
Yeah.
Vicky Mensur.
Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Hey,
Dan.
Vicky.
Vicky Mensur, have you ever thought about writing your own show?
Is Vicky up late or early? I wonder.
I don't.
Because I think she's UK. Have I written? Yes, I wrote a dramedy that I'm still shopping and I'm praying to get out there. And it's I call it Californication in a toque. It's
Okay.
yeah, about a washed out hockey player whose wife has left him and his career, he's retired. I'm changing it to an MMA fighter just for the universal global appeal. Thanks to a buddy of mine, Dave Nystrom, and Kerry Dixon, we're rewriting it to be an MMA washed up, retired, forced retirement for an MMA artist whose wife's left him and he doesn't know why. And he's kind of, without having his career, regressed to the only thing he knew before his career, which would have been, high school dum-dum. And he's tripping all over himself trying to get back to where he knows he needs to be. So dramedy in that, if anyone knows Californication, it's very similar, but
okay. Yeah, for the record, she's late.
Thank you for staying up late.
Well, I hope, best of luck with that. That sounds really cool. I'd watch it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. And I've had a lot of good feedback. I just need to get that one green light feedback, and maybe we'll get a chance.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the industry is so darn competitive.
Yeah, and there's a big demand for content. So
that's true. That's true more than ever. So, since you've gotten Claire Burr, since you've had the chance to play so many different characters on the franchise, what was your favorite weapon costume combination? So,
oof.
So a lot of like the Kull Warrior, you didn't. I mean, you had a weapon, but you didn't really. It was on your wrist, and with with the Uber Wraith, I'm pretty sure it was just your bare hands.
Yeah, Uber Wraith was a bare hand badass. I did love the Kull Warriors wrist lasers.
Mm-hmm. You played with staff weapons.
I was gonna say, when I ran up on Tilk with the staff weapon, that's pretty. I mean, to me, to be able to interact, like I've been a Jaffa Warrior and had a couple of stunt days getting just shot and killed in the gear and running around with a staff weapon, but to be able to be a part of the story and tell and talk whilst using the weapon as an element of the story, that was pretty cool. The best combination. I mean, I'm going to go Uber Wraith. If we could have put the lasers from Kull Warrior on some sort of badass biker Uber Wraith weapon, that'd be pretty neat.
Seb Gregory, what role or stunt have you not had a chance to do yet in your career that you would like to do? I guess you've already spoken to a longer specific role and to work out your own dramedy. What is a stunt that you as an actor would like to apply?
I'd love to. So I know for a fact I never want to be lit on fire.
Yeah.
And just to share a little bit about when I was 22, I was in an explosion. I had 40% of my body, second-degree burns. I was in a coma for 4 and a bit days and in a hospital for a month, and then had to wear Job's garments for 9 months, get special permission to go back to university volleyball wearing these garments and stuff. So fire and I aren't super friendly. It took me like a year after that to light a barbecue. I'm good now. There's no problem, but I don't think I'm mentally prepared to be lit on fire. So that's off. So that was originally one of the cool things that I hadn't done that I thought would be a stunt if I hadn't been burned in real life, that I would have tried, but no. So now the only thing that I really like to do is a high fall, like a 2-story high fall.
Oh man. Into a big crate of soft things, right?
Well, yeah, either a box rig, like a box, the boxes, or the big mat, the air mat that blows out the side and you just poof. Then there's an art form to it, and you have to incrementally increase and learn to fall. And I would love to go through that training, and I don't know that I'll get that chance. I'm no spring chicken myself, and those opportunities, I don't know how. I'm still the guy who will always say yes. I love this job. I love this industry, and yeah, every day on set's a great day. So if it happens, like, hey Dan, my dream would be a stunt actor role, or a character in a series where I get to do a high fall and then somehow I survive, because I'd like that character to keep going.
Okay, yeah. Ian was about to ask, did you prefer stunts or acting? So maybe something that would give you a combination of both.
Yeah, that'd be the dream. Heavy on the acting, lower on the stunts. I'd love to keep stunt communities busy doing the crazy stuff that I shouldn't do.
Got it.
Or couldn't do or wouldn't do. But I'm an actor first and foremost.
Yeah.
In heart, soul, DNA. And stunts, again, was an aspect that I was gratefully afforded to be a part of and fell in love with, but haven't spent the amount of time that I should to be able to full-time it or take any credit as a stuntman. True blue, anyway.
Absolutely. Teresa MC, what is a dream role for you, Dan? If you could play a single character for 5 or 6 years, would it be a comedy? Would it be a dramedy? Would it be a combination of the two? Dramedy for combination?
Straight up dramedy. I love that. I don't want to sound like too much of a goober, but I love the emotional content of, we talked about Yellowstone. I love that I was watching it and I'd be in tears and then laughing. That is, like, I love to feel, and to be able to bring feeling to others through work that I get to do would be joyous. So I love making people laugh. My wife jokes that I spend too much time trying. She's probably right. So there's that aspect, but I love telling a good story where there's a tug at the heartstrings. I used to say that I'd love to be in a Die Hard type series and yippee-ki-yay my way through a series. So, some aspect of a dramedy, like Californication, but
Yeah.
add a physicality to it, which again is the series I wrote. So, yeah.
Romaine, were there any of the Stargate roles that came to pass that you were like, oh, I wish I got that?
A lot. Yeah. I mean, to be a part of that show in any larger capacity at any time would have been phenomenal. I got to audition for a few, and then some of them didn't go my way, but the family aspect, I got to come back and play. And sometimes I didn't have to audition, which was wonderful. Like, get Dan for that. Alex and I both were afforded that family concept of, oh, that's a Dan, Alex, whoever that they thought for that role, they would just give it to you.
Wow, that's true too. I didn't think about it. So you didn't have to audition for everything.
Not all of them.
Wow.
But that's once you earn that spot in the family, prove your professional abilities and etiquette and awareness of what's needed, then they reciprocate that.
Well, if they know that you can do it, and you're the kind of person that they're looking for, why not, So it makes sense.
Yeah, that's quite the family aspect. And it's a fan base thing too. I think that they like that they had such a phenomenally, what's the word? The fan base would follow them and support them. So to see familiar faces in there breeds that to a deeper extent, I think.
Absolutely. There's a cult following to it for sure.
Yeah. So I think it was kind of cool when fans were happy to see you back in there.
Dr. Essex, Dan, do you have any cosplay character or costumes? So I don't know how much fan conventioning you would do to like something like a Comic-Con or something else where you would dress up for yourself, but I think you could pull off a number of different superhero roles.
So I'm going to tell you the one that I would want to do, and if I ever get a chance. So I got to do a role on Once Upon a Time.
Yes, you did. I texted you after this. I was like, I saw you.
Yeah, thank you. So Evo. And when I put on the gear without putting the eyes in, I was in the mirror and I'm like, I'm kind of Star-Lord, like right now. And so whenever anybody asks me who my favorite superhero is, I always say Star-Lord. I think that's a wonderful balance of comedy, action, but there's nobody that can do it like Chris Pratt did it.
You do have a Chris Pratt demeanor about you. Absolutely.
That's that's the biggest compliment
That's true.
I can remember. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
So he is a wizard, a genius. And so I put this gear on. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, nobody's around. I'm going to pretend to be Star-Lord for a few minutes. That's just my own little private world for me. So that would be the cosplay. I would dress up fully with a removable Star-Lord helmet. And I just don't know how I'd ever get it. That would be the one.
Kata Siko. Can I ask Dan? Well, of course you can. What, in Dan's opinion, is the most ridiculous way he was killed during his career?
Ooh. That's a good question. I've been killed so many times. That's quite a Rolodex I got to go through.
Drone to the chest would definitely have to be up there. This
ridiculous? That's
ridiculous,
awesome.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I've got it. Okay. I did a short in England, and I was abducted by a giant alien spider bug thing and cocooned up, and I died in the cocoon, and then they made me slither out of it as food, like for the creature. It was terrible. It was horrible. So they built this cocoon, and then in the corner of this set, and then I had to climb in the back, and I was all covered in slime. And then they wanted me to, like the 3, 2, 1, fall out dead limp. And they built like a sort of slime ramp for me so I didn't go like smack on my head and slide out. And then the creature comes over and grabs me, drags me off and eats me. But I was the boyfriend of this girl who the alien had taken over her mind to bring food to him.
God.
Yeah, it was, hey man, early on in my career, like second gig ever.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So You gotta explore those facets. You know,
For sure,
not
it's a lot of fun.
everything that everyone does is going to be an absolute home run all the time. But you have to, bring your A game every time you do it.
That one
So.
was a bunt, and I didn't make it to first base. But whatever.
Matthew Hall, any upcoming projects you can tell us about? What's going on? You hunkering down, or are you getting some work up there? I know that Vancouver's, they're working again.
So I picked up a role as a dad on a show about, and I don't want to say too much, but if I were to hint at it saying I'm mighty happy about it and I wouldn't duck away from doing it again, I hope that helps people understand. Wow. So that should come back. Thanks. That should come back around, being that I'm one of the main kids' dads. Okay. So they say. I do know that I've had the great fortune, and I hope some of you caught it, to work with Danica McKellar again on a Christmas movie called Christmas She Wrote.
Yeah, Winnie.
And Winnie, yeah. Well, she's to me, she's Danica because I've met her and got to know. She's such an amazingly wonderful.
I grew up on the Wonder Years, so yeah, that's great. Congratulations on that.
She doesn't age. She's just a beautifully wonderful. Anyway, so I got to do Matchmaker Mysteries with her, and they have told me that my character will return in the fourth one should they get to that. So it's a wheel, meaning they've done Matchmaker 1 and 2. They're filming 3. I was in 2, and then they're going to bring me back for 4, which, fingers crossed. I love that concept. I love that idea. And again, working with Danica again, such a great honor. So those 2 are in the cards.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I'm working really, really hard I'm finishing off the second half of an indie feature that Ken Hegan wrote. And I don't know when that is. That's second half of that. So that's going to be fun to wrap up. Playing a heartless, smart-mouthed sniper in a post-apocalyptic reality series.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine, it's comedy. So, and this, again, I blab a lot, but Ken Hegan let me ad-lib a lot of things. And there's an Easter egg in there that I hope I get an interview for at some point once it's come out to talk about, because it was a lot of fun to get in. So there's a couple irons in the fire.
Good.
But I am still, and thanks to Dan and his question and everyone else as well, but I'm looking for that series, and I'm looking for that next level job. So from positive thinking and all you guys out there, you wonderful, amazing fan people, let's manifest in the universe a series for me to enjoy and bring to hopefully joy to you guys, because that's what I'm looking for. That's where I'm headed.
Boy, we could all use it this year for sure.
Yeah.
Last question, Gerald Leahy. If and when the new Stargate series that's being tossed about comes out, would you love to come back?
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And I think with my physicality, I will hit the gym. I would love to be the new Tilk, Momoa, something guy. I hope that they have a similar vibe to it, and that there's like maybe he's the big, alien badass. I still want my face though. I think I'm pretty good with no 4-hour makeups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Together. So, maybe some cool outfits and some crazy otherworld things, but I would be in a heartbeat for sure. So if those guys are listening too, yes, please.
Dan, it's been a pleasure as always, my friend.
You too. Thank you so much. And Summer, thank you. I know you're out there. Thank you. I love chatting with you. You're awesome. And David, you too, man. Thank you. You're a great interviewer, and I always love talking to you, brother. Thank you to everyone who happened to drop in, and anybody who watches this, and all the fans. Mad love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've always appreciated you, and hope to have you back on in the future. So
I would love to. I'd be honored.
There's a lot to do. You guys stay safe. You take care of yourself, and I'll be reaching out to you soon, okay?
You got it, man. Thanks, David.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Thanks, man.
Cool. Peace and love.
Bye-bye. Mr. Dan Payne, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have Kull Warrior artwork for you. This is submitted by a fan named Romana, and this blew me away when I first saw it. Had to share it. His comment was, this time I drew a Kull Warrior, which is a soldier of the gold Anubis. As you can see, I also drew the Stargate in the background, kind of a bonus. Honestly, I'm really happy about it. 11 days it took him to make, working on it off and on. Really, really cool concept art. So I have a new contest for you for the month of January. So if you would like to submit trivia questions for this month, you are going to be earning one of these if you are the lucky winner. This is a replica communication stone, ancient communication stone, and it's based off of this one. This is a original prop communication stone. This is one of the ones that was on the terminal that was used in Avalon and in Identity. So this is the replica, and this is the prop, or the original. And so the replica will be given away to the lucky winner to submit Stargate trivia questions to us for the month of January. And I will next week start to share some information about how you can submit for the episode. If you already know how from previous episodes, you can go to dialthegate.com, submit trivia questions there at the bottom. So for the month of January, one lucky winner for submitting trivia questions to the show for our monthly trivia challenge will be getting this little guy. I'll be announcing February, and I'll be announcing the January winner very shortly here for the Stargate 3D Stargate prop and ancient keychain from our friends over at 3dtech.pro for the December challenge for the month of December pretty quickly here. So I appreciate you tuning in. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Summer, Ian, Tracy, Keith, Jeremy, and our new moderator, Reese. And I also, a huge thanks to Linda, Gategabber Fury. She doesn't know it yet, but she's no longer going to be a production assistant on the show. She is now a full-time co-producer. So surprise, Linda. So she is now getting a co-producer credit on the show. We have some really cool things that are in the pipeline. I'll just go ahead and say it. We've got t-shirts coming. So if you want to support the show has always been free. It will continue to be free. It's free to ask questions to the guests. If you want to support the show, consider buying a t-shirt. I have 3 in development, thanks to Linda, 1 for each series. And that's all I've got. Before I let you go, if you like what you've seen on this episode, I would appreciate it if David would push the right button. If you like what you've seen on this episode, I would appreciate it if you click the like button. It really makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. If you plan to watch live, I recommend giving the bell icon a click so you'll be the first to know of any schedule changes, which will happen all the time, like they did today with Mel Harris. And bear in mind, clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days and weeks on both Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net's YouTube channels. We've been working like mad people, going through the archive of the last 35 episodes and building up clips to help promote this series in more bite-sized chunks. It was something that I was intending to do when I first started the show, to put out a clip every single day, but it's a lot more time consuming than I thought, and I just don't have the time for it. So I do have a couple of people, Linda, chiefly among them, and Zach as well, coming along to help me out with this, with those clips, so that we can spread the word of the show. It's 2021. It's a brand new year. Next week's guests, Mr. Corin Nemec, Jonas Quinn himself, will be joining us Sunday, the 10th of January at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So be here live to ask your questions to Corin via the YouTube chat. And Dan Payne, Siler, and stunt performer will be joining us the same day, 2 hours later, 3 p.m. Pacific time on youtube.com/dialthegate. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's really the show has turned into everything that I hoped that it would be, and I hope to continue to produce more shows for you this year. That's all I've got for you. Oh, I do have one fan did ask me a question. Redux. Any chance of having the unsung hero Sergeant O'Brien, Pierre Bernard? I will ask Pierre. I've been wanting to ask him for a couple weeks now, and I bet he'll do the show. So I'll ask Pierre this week if he'll come on and do Dial the Gate with us. So thanks, Redux, for that question. And thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next weekend. My name is David Reed. You're watching Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.